Welcome everyone. In today's video I'm going to be paper quilling some clay pots. I will be using a pencil and a large scissors, small scissors, tweezers, a paper roller with a large diameter winding pin, and my steel cut ruler, and some glue and scrap paper. I started off by trying to decide the height that I wanted my pot to be, and then I marked it and I will cut it away. And if you want to measure, you can measure this, or if you don't want to measure, you can use your cut strip and just lay it over your paper and trace it. It doesn't have to be exact. I used the paper as a guide, but I lined my ruler up with it so that I traced my ruler instead to give me a good straight line. Instead of tracing it, you could also use an X-Acto knife or some other kind of a cutter to make your strips. I also drew out a skinny strip that I will use to make the band of the clay pot. I took one of the strips and I laid my ruler on the corner and on one end, and then on the other end, the opposite corner, and I drew a line. So this way I end up with two long skinny triangles that are straight on one side. I cut mine with scissors, but of course you could always cut yours with an X-Acto knife. I glued all of the strips together on the ends except for the skinny band piece and the two triangle pieces. Next, I just rolled them up and I tried to keep it pretty tight. I would go fast a little bit and then give it a little tug and then continue on. Don't tug it too hard because you don't want it to slip out of the little slot that the paper's sitting in. So this creates a nice wide cylinder that will be the width of this pot, and I line up the straight edge with the straight edge of the cylinder that's on the paper roller. And as you roll it, you will notice that your paper is getting thinner and thinner, and that is helping to taper it, and that gives it that clay pot look. And then just add some glue on that little piece on the end. See how it flares out on the sides? And then I glue down that little skinny strip to the top, keeping the edges even, and that forms that little band on the top of the clay pot. And that is the beginning of your first clay pot. And then I slide it off of the winding pin, and I take my tweezers and I start to pull out the center. And I pull, but I be careful on the bottom not to pull so much where there's nothing left. And then you trim it, and you can just poke it back in there and add a little bit of glue to keep it steady so that it shouldn't unwind, but I just put the glue on it here. And then apply glue to the bottom and lay it down on a piece of scrap cardstock. I already have some on here drying. And then after you've pushed it down onto your cardstock, make sure to put some glue on the top of your clay pot, on the edge of the rim. Don't throw away what you pulled out of this clay pot, because now we're going to use it and roll it up again to make another clay pot. It will be done the same exact way. This one will be the same height, but it won't be as wide. It's almost like you're creating a set of clay pots that are all going to be the same height, but they won't all be the same width. When you finish winding this cylinder, you will take that extra triangle that we cut before and you will line it with the straight edge to create this clay pot. You will also need to cut another skinny strip to form the band of this clay pot, if you want a band. Some clay pots don't have the band, so that's really up to you. And finish it off exactly how we did the previous pot. Make sure that when you're pulling the paper out from the center, that you really are watching the bottom and you're not letting it get too thin. Glue it down to the cardstock and add glue to the top of the rim. Everything that you pulled out of your previous pot, you're going to roll it up again to create another pot. All of the triangles that we cut have been used, so I'm using this cylinder to give me some marks for the height that I need to create some more triangles. I forgot to mention in the very beginning when we cut the strips that when you roll up your first cylinder, you want it to be a really good wide thick one, and that way you can get several clay pots out of that one. I think I can get about 3 or 4, and that way you don't have to cut strips and glue them end to end for each pot. Here I am taking one of the triangle pieces. I'm going to cut it in half, and the reason why I'm doing this is I want to make this pot maybe look a little wider, have a little bit more of a flare. So I rolled it up the same, and then when I finish it, I take a full triangle with that straight edge and I go over it. And I feel like it gives it a little bit of a different shape. And be sure on the half piece and this full piece that you're keeping your edges straight and even with each other. And this is how it looks before we put the skinny band on. I think it makes it have a little bit more thickness up there, or gives it kind of a rounded shape. And now I'm just adding that little band on the top, and you can leave it off if you want to. I believe on this pot, I decided I didn't want to roll it around as thick. So you can see these 3 pots right here, the 3 white ones in the front, they are the ones that I rolled from all of those strips. So they're all the same height, but they're different widths. This is a different set that I rolled, and this set is shorter. So you can see how they're all the same height. They're not all the same width. I turn the pot upside down and I'm running it across some sandpaper to smooth out that top edge. I don't really like seeing all the lines from when I rolled it up, so I sanded, of course. This is some really thin paper. It's not grocery sack. It's thin paper from packing paper from Amazon. So it sanded up pretty good. I was able to get it pretty flush. If that doesn't bother you, the sanding is completely optional. I'm just sanding obsessed. I watered down some wood glue and I gave them a pretty good coat of the glue on the outside and the inside. And then I gave them a coat of gesso. And then I picked out a terracotta color that I liked, and I went ahead and covered them all in the terracotta. Then I mixed some black and some raw umber together, and I'm just giving them some aging. And then I took some glue, or I took some shaved chalk pastels in some browns and some moss color, and I'm just brushing it on here and there, and even in some spots I add some with a little bit of glue to make it look a little bit thicker. If you would like your clay pots to look newer, don't add the chalk pastels. And here they are complete. I love all of the different heights and widths that I did. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.